Every morning, the sun rose over a quiet town where the soft ticking of countless clocks filled the air. Inside a small wooden workshop sat an old man surrounded by hundreds of clocks, some grand and elegant, others tiny and delicate, all ticking at their own rhythm yet perfectly in sync. He had spent his entire life repairing them. To him, time was not something to measure, it was something to understand. One day, a young man came to learn from him, curious, sharp, but impatient. He watched as the old man worked silently, his wrinkled hands steady, his eyes filled with calm. "Why do you always say time is gold?" the boy finally asked. "Everyone has time, don't they?" The old man smiled without looking up. "If time is so common," he said softly, "then why do people waste it as if they'll live forever?" The boy chuckled. "Because we think there's always more of it." The craftsman nodded. "And that," he said gently, "is the greatest illusion." He handed him a small pocket watch. "Fix this, and remember, you can't buy back the seconds you waste." Days turned into weeks, and the young man worked without focus. He often arrived late, complained about how slowly the hours passed, and dreamed about a future that never began. While the old man treated every moment as treasure, the boy treated it like dust, something endless, something cheap. One evening, he found the old man by the window, staring quietly at an hourglass glowing in candlelight. "Why do you still use that?" the boy asked. "You already have clocks everywhere." The old man smiled faintly. "Because this reminds me that every grain of sand that falls is a piece of my life I'll never get back." Then he looked at the boy and asked, "What did you do today that truly mattered?" The boy had no answer. He looked down, realizing how many moments had slipped through his fingers. Moments spent wishing instead of working, waiting instead of living. Weeks later, a wealthy man entered the workshop. He offered the old craftsman a fortune to build a grand clock for the city, a project that would take 2 years. The young apprentice was excited, but to his shock, the old man refused. "Why would you turn down such an offer?" the boy asked. "That's more money than you could earn in a lifetime." The craftsman smiled. "Because it would take 2 years," he said quietly, "and I don't have that much time left." The boy froze. The old man looked down at his trembling hands. "My strength fades each day. My eyes blur more with every sunrise. Money can wait. Time cannot." He turned toward the window, the golden light of evening falling on his face. "I'd rather spend what is left of my life teaching what I've learned, not chasing more gold that time will soon bury." Those words sank deep into the boy's heart. For the first time, he saw how rich a man could be, not in wealth, but in how he valued each passing moment. Months passed. One quiet night, the boy found the old man working beside a small candle, carefully repairing his last clock. "Do you know why people fear old age?" the craftsman asked. "Because they lose their strength," the boy replied. The old man smiled faintly. "No, because they realized late how much time they've wasted." He reached into his coat and pulled out the same pocket watch. "When I'm gone," he whispered, "this will be yours. But promise me one thing, never trade your hours for things that don't matter." Tears welled up in the boy's eyes. "I promise," he said softly. The old man looked at the clock above his desk. "A clock doesn't just measure time," he murmured. "It reminds us that it's running out." The candle flickered. His hand grew still. For a moment, the workshop fell silent, as if even time itself had paused to bow in respect. Years passed, but the small workshop still stood on the corner of that quiet street. Now the once impatient boy, older and wiser, sat at the same desk. People often saw him working late into the night, a single flame lighting his tools and a worn pocket watch resting beside him. He never wasted a minute. Every hour was spent creating, helping, and living with purpose. Above his desk, carved into the wood, were the old man's words, "Time is not money, time is life." One morning, a little boy entered the shop and watched him fix a clock. "Sir," he asked, "why do you keep looking at that old watch?" The man smiled. "Because it belonged to someone who taught me how to live." "Can you teach me too?" the boy asked softly. The man smiled. "Only if you promise one thing, never say, 'I'll do it later.'" The boy nodded eagerly. The man handed him a small broken watch. "Then let's begin," he said. "Every day, time gives us 86,400 seconds, a treasure we rarely value. People spend money to save time, but waste time to make money. They wait for someday, forgetting that someday doesn't exist on any calendar. The truth is simple, your time is your life. Protect it, spend it wisely, live it fully. Because once the clock stops, No amount of gold can make it tick again. Don't count every hour, make every hour count.